Hello, my name's Jane and I'm from Little Angel Theatre and I'm going to be reading The Elves and the Shoemaker. A shoemaker, by no fault of his own, became so poor that in the end all he had left was enough leather for one pair of shoes. So in the evening he cut the leather into the shape of the shoes and he left his work on the table to finish in the morning. He lay down quietly in his bed, and before he fell asleep, he prayed that someone would help him. In the morning, just as he was about to start work, he saw that the two shoes were standing quite finished on the table. He was astounded. He took the shoes into his hand to give them a better look, and he saw they were so neatly made there was not one bad stitch in them. They were a masterpiece. Soon after, a customer came into the shop, and as the shoes pleased him so well, he paid more than the usual price for them. Now, the shoemaker had enough money to make 2 pairs of shoes. That night, he again cut the leather into the shape of the shoes and left it on the table. The next morning, he was about to set to work with fresh hope when he saw the 2 shoes had already been made. There was no shortage of customers who wanted to buy these shoes, and the shoemaker soon had enough money to buy enough leather to make 4 pairs of shoes. The following morning, he again found that the 4 pairs of shoes were made, and so it went on. Any leather that he cut out in the evening was made into shoes by the morning. Soon he was no longer poor, and he even became quite rich. Now, one evening, not long before Christmas, the man finished cutting out his leather as usual, but this time he said to his wife, "Let's stay up tonight and see who lends us a helping hand." His wife liked the idea. She lit a candle on the workbench. Then they hid in the corner of a room in a wardrobe and peeked out through the door. When it was midnight, 2 elves came into the room with no clothes on, and they sat down by the shoemaker's table. They took all the work which was cut out before them, and they began to stitch, sew and hammer it together. They were so skillful, and they did it so quickly with their little fingers that the shoemaker could not turn his eyes away for a moment. They did not stop until all was done and stood finished on the table, and then they ran quickly away. The shoemaker's wife said, "These little elves have made us rich, and we really must show we are grateful for it. They run about so, but they have nothing on, and they must be cold. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make them little shirts and coats and vests and trousers, and knit both of them a nice pair of stockings. You can help too. Make them 2 little pairs of shoes." And the man said, "Oh, I shall be very glad to do it." One night, when everything was ready, they laid their presents all together on the workbench instead of the cut-out leather work. Then they hid themselves to see what the little elves would do. At midnight, the elves came bounding in, wanting to get to work at once. But as they did not find any leather cut out, they were very confused. But then they saw the pretty little articles of clothes, and they were delighted. They dressed themselves very quickly, putting the pretty clothes on and singing, "Now we are elves so fine to see, why should we longer cobblers be?" They danced and skipped and leaped over chairs and benches. At last they danced out of the doors. From that time on, they came no more. But as long as the shoemaker lived, all was well with him and his wife, and the business prospered. The end.